You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Let's get spooky. This is our station, Boo, where we explore the dark and mysterious corners of the world of horror, and we know that you are dying to listen. Alrighty, and welcome to the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo, where we talk all things horror. Introducing our haunted hosts with the most. We have our lovely Lisa.
Hi, Groovy Ghoulies. How are you?
We've got our kick-ass Karen.
What up, my horrorholics? And my cat says hi.
And I am your spooky Shannon. And today we are going to be talking about a fantastic film, 28 Days Later. I know us ladies are excited to talk about it, but before we dive in, you're going to get to hear from one of our fun friends over at the ESO Network. But let's get spooky. Hey, horrorholics. It's time for the Ghastly Report. Stay tuned for all the fun, spine-tingling news happening in horror today, from new releases to spooky events and so much more. It is time for the Ghastly Report. We just got a couple of fun little things that are happening in the world of horror today. So, Lisa, what do you have on tap?
I have a new addition to Wednesday. Steve Buscemi is the principal, and he's joining in this second season.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's pretty funny.
He is.
I think he is pretty funny. And he's so handsome.
Yes, he is.
In that weird kind of way.
I'm going to agree to disagree on that handsome part, but he's a cool dude.
In a weird kind of way, he's kind of handsome, okay?
Yeah, weird.
I mean, if he strokes your goat, rock on. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. Karen, though, what do you got on tap?
So, remember last year when they said, Mindhunters was going to be canceled? However, they're in talks about working season 3. And I'm so excited because it might not be, they're saying it might not be, the season 3 we're looking for, but it's a season 3 that we need because they're not doing hour-long episodes. They're going to probably do a movie style, which I totally agree with because most British shows do movie styles, like an hour to 2 hour long, episodes. Mm-hmm. It all gets wrapped up in one movie and they go on to the next subject, which I am looking forward to. And I want them to so do it. Please, David Fincher, listen to me. I will be a dead body on every episode.
Oh my God.
Y'all don't need any extra bodies. Let me be a dead body. Every episode, I'll just be random body somewhere. Do it.
I think that is probably my only complaint about seasons 1 and 2. I felt like the episodes were too short.
Agreed.
So yeah, I'm down for them doing a longer format. That'll be exciting.
Oh yeah, like watching Midsummer,
right? And last but not least, for the Ghastly Report, it is Ryan Murphy on social media has confirmed that him and Sarah Paulson are working on putting together a really cool story for American Horror Story 13. So that's pretty cool, pretty exciting. That might actually be a great way for him to end that series. Although the man seems to keep coming up with new stuff. So who knows? Who knows what all will come from that. But that is going to be our Ghastly Report. So stay tuned to check out our friends over at the ESO Network. And on top of that, we're going to be talking about 28 Days Later, which is super freaking cool. And we're really excited about it.
Calling all Whovians, dive into the time vortex with Earth Station Who, the podcast that celebrates the legacy, present, and future of Doctor Who.
From classic adventures with the First Doctor to thrilling stories of the 15th, we've got it all covered.
for lively discussions, geeky debates, the Whovian Geeksy, and a whole lot of TARDIS talk.
Pull on seed to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to Earth Station Who, where every episode is a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey good time.
"28 Days Later." This is a fantastic film by Danny Boyle. Came out in 2002. So all of our faves in this, Mr. Cillian Murphy and Christopher Eccleston, were babies in this. Oh, little babies in this. Even Danny himself was a young man. So let's just dive in. Let's kind of air our initial thoughts. Obviously, this is a retake on what a zombie film is, and I guess I am using the air quotes because we'll have a whole debate about that a little bit later. But do you guys prefer these fast zombies or the slower zombies? Lisa, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I prefer the slower ones. Thank you. I mean, I'm pretty fast, but I'm not that fast. Because it's like, boo, they're there. And you're like, how the hell did you get there? Now I prefer, and they don't have to catch the breath. They don't have lactic acid building up in their bodies. So yeah, you're pretty much screwed. So yeah, I'll take the slow zombies.
Yeah.
Zombies, brains. Yeah, it's much, much more and easier to kill.
Yes, it depends on the movie myself.
Wait, but what's your thoughts on the film?
Oh, I actually enjoy. Oh,
my film. Oh my God, this is.
You're good. You're good.
I actually love
this. Was a two-part question.
Yes. I actually really love this film. I'm not a big zombie film fan. I mean, they're okay, but I feel like they're overdone. But I really love this film. It's just, I just like the whole concept of it. It just seems so much more unique compared to the others.
Okay.
I actually enjoy this film. This is like, I don't consider them zombies just because of the fact that, yeah, they eat the flesh of the living. But for me, they're more of humans that are raging out.
Yeah.
Now, if they put them up into a EKG to see if they have a heartbeat, then I'll be like, okay, they're zombies. But they never did that. So I was like, they're humans raging out. Thus the rage virus. Depending on the movie, if it was to happen in real life, I'd rather have the slow zombies. But if it's in the movie, fast zombies creep you out. I mean, yeah. Like, look at Zombieland. That is amazing. And I'm just recently watching a movie I think it's called Zom 100. It's an anime series on Netflix. And this one combines fast-moving zombies and slow-moving zombies.
Ooh.
So, yeah. And it's an anime. It was based off of, I want to say, a webtoon comic.
Okay.
They made a movie out of it, and then now it's a series, like an animated series. It's only 12 episodes, I believe. It's either 12 or 13, I don't remember, but I'm on the last 2 episodes. And it's really fun because it's based about like 100 things I want to do before I become a zombie in the zombie apocalypse.
I mean, that's fair.
It's like,
cool.
so you're gonna try to do all these other things?
That wouldn't be a bad way to do it.
Yeah.
Have like a list of like, okay, world's gone to shit. What do I want to do before we off ourselves? That's fair.
I mean, this is what the young man's doing. He's like, I want to, like, my job. I no longer work at a job, so
yeah. What have you wanted to do on your day off that you haven't been able to do? And money's not really an issue because it's an apocalypse.
Yeah,
right.
So
exactly.
So okay.
On a good day, it depends on like what I want to watch, like fast moving zombies, slow moving zombies, or right now I'm watching an anime that has both.
There you go. I take after Simon Pegg, Edgar Wright. I prefer the slow ones. I think just scientifically that's how it should work. But I do, for like you said, Karen, for cinematic enjoyment, the fast ones do bring a little pizzazz that the slow ones lack. I loved this film. This was like a comfort film for me for a hot minute. Actually, I think when I was in college, so 2005, 2006. And I love this film. It's a good film. It's fun to watch. It's shot beautifully. If you're into British films, like, you already love Danny Boyle. And so, just kind of It's right in there. You're like, all right, yeah, I'm here for this. 28 days later, though, does the depiction of the fast zombies, as we've mentioned. It's that rage infected, and it definitely differs from the regular traditional undead horror tropes. And this was kind of like the first time you really had fast undead-ish type individuals. What makes this shift kind of terrifying, other than just they're faster? Oh no! Like, I feel like that's kind of like a duh. But like, do you think this reinvention of these undead-ish kind of creatures, do you think it's like really impacted horror? And like, how do you think it's working thus far? I mean, we're looking at 23 years ago.
Just about.
Yeah, 23 years ago.
Yeah.
So
for me, the whole fast moving zombie is, still a thing. I mean, depending on what story you're trying to tell, look at Train to Busan. Like, you're in a confined location and you have vast zombies in this confined location. And, you can't really isolate yourself because you're in a confined location.
Yeah.
And, even though with Jim and his group, yeah, you're out in the open, but you're out in the open with fast zombies coming at you. That's scary on itself. And you as a person, you just woke up. Your muscle tone should not be the greatest.
Oh, yeah.
And try imagining you waking up in the hospital. How long he was in there for, like 28 days or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, his muscle tone, his body should be hurting. Like, oh my God, I'm moving. I've been asleep for like such much days. Like, think about that. You're getting out of the hospital and you're like, and then you have these creatures coming after you at full speed. Not just human speed. Well, it's almost like human speed.
Yeah.
They're not like hands or anything. It's just human speed, which is,
I think they're a little faster, but I think it's because they have adrenaline that, that's like never ending.
Yeah. And so you're like, fuck, And then you have other movies, like I said, it depends on the story. You have Zombieland, where, they run, but it's also a comedy because it's kind of funny to see how they die.
Yeah. And you can also see like the ones that have been dead longer don't run as fast as like the newer ones.
Yeah.
And that makes it, even, incredible. Because, they're slowing down because they're actually physically now rotting because they don't have a food source. Even with the new trailer for, 28 years later, they had that one zombie that was almost skeletal. That everyone was like, it looks like Cillian. And then you find out that wasn't Cillian. That was like a model that actually looks that thin and almost resembles him, in the facial structure. And you're like, oh, that's not him. And you find out who it is. You're like, oh, that's a good, I like the fact that he uses them as a tool for horror. And also, when they start getting older, they start to slow down. They start to decay. That's a good use of a zombie if you're going to use fast moving zombies. But yeah, that whole trope is still going strong. And I actually enjoy it. I actually really enjoy it because, like I said, it depends on the story. If the story does not make sense for fast moving zombies, why are we having fast moving zombies?
Yeah, that's fair. Lisa, how about you?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely influenced a bunch of new zombie movies that are out there. Like, I mean, we got World War Z. Those were pretty fast. Then, of course, Train to Busan, Peninsula. And yeah, I agree with Karen how some of them, when they're older, they kind of start slowing down a little bit. His use of it is very good. And I definitely think it's influenced. Yeah, it definitely, you're in an open space, isolated, and these things are coming at you. That definitely affects the horror thing. And I have to say something. He would not even be able to really walk when he just got up. It would take him a few minutes, if not hours, to actually be able to function again. Because it looked like he had some kind of brain surgery on his head where it was shaved.
He was in an accident.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, he was a bike messenger and got hit by a car.
That's right. I forgot. But still, it still take him a few minutes, more than a couple hours.
Yeah, I mean, you have like the muscle atrophy.
Yeah.
All that.
And if nobody's been there for 28 days, they don't have any nurses to move them around or anything.
Well, we don't know exactly like how long he was out.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's
like,
true.
We don't know if he got knocked out like the day it happened, or like a
Or
couple of days
days
after,
after.
or like a week before.
Yeah, true. But still, medically speaking,
Yeah.
I'm going to be that way. It would probably take him more than a few seconds to get
Yeah.
up and being able to outrun the priest there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, if I was a nurse in that hospital, I don't think I could leave my patients like that. They left Homeboy by himself. So I was like, damn, y'all didn't like med back him somewhere? Like,
Yeah,
what happened
they
to the
just
other
like said,
patients?
fuck this shit and left.
Well, I mean, how quickly did it spread to them?
That's true.
That's true.
You know, like did they get to a point where it was either save your own butt or save somebody who you don't even know if they're going to wake up?
Yeah.
I mean, they probably got all the people out that like
they could
save and that they knew wouldn't slow them down essentially. But
it's kind of reminds me of, The Walking Dead that came out years later.
Yeah.
Poor Rick.
Yeah.
He wakes up. I'm like, you should be stumbling. At least you're stumbling.
Yeah.
At least you have on clothes, like a robe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not naked.
Yeah. Well, and like my thought is like animals and things like that. Depending on how long like Homeboy's been out, obviously he did not know about the outbreaks, but like he's been out long enough that like place is abandoned, which means all the critters would have been going all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Like those rats that they saw in that tunnel, they would have been in that hospital searching.
Yeah.
So the fact like he didn't get eaten prior to this.
Yeah.
That was surprising.
That was surprising.
And then you don't see like, the dogs or cats roaming around in an abandoned city.
Yeah.
Like I can understand birds eating the dead, like, dead flesh, because that's what they do. But and those streets were kind of clean. They didn't have that many bodies on the streets.
Exactly. I had a lot of questions. There were some continuity things that I was we were talking about it before we started recording. I was like, why didn't Jim yell at that guy who was walking up ahead of him up that hill?
Right? And I'm like,
why didn't they catch up with that car that was driving up ahead of them on their way to Manchester? I had some questions. I think that 28 Days Later was a great jolt for the zombie undead category or subgenre for horror. I think it kind of gave it a spark that it kind of needed to jump back into things. I think having the faster made it more frightening. Yes, because they were faster, but like it just added an element of unknown that I think a lot of people ended up really enjoying. And so its impact it lasted, and it has given us things like Zombieland where you can have that duality of fast and slow. And so I think it shifted a lot more than what people may think, because they like, oh well, it's just fast zombies, but like I think it impacted more than how people perceived the zombie type deal.
I mean, even Zack Schneider or Ray Schneider or whatever, he used that in Dawn of the Dead, the fast zombie in his. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, that is. It sure is.
I'm like,
yeah. I mean, it's the fast and slow. Like, don't get me wrong, the slow are relentless, and that you can outrun them, but for how long? Like, I get that, but the fact that like you may not get the chance to be able to run.
Yeah.
Because the fast ones are also stupid quiet too.
Yeah.
They can be stealthy. And it's like, ooh. Like that little kid.
Oh God, I know, right?
Yeah.
Homeboy was pretty quiet sneaking up on him. I mean, obviously Jim knew that he was there. However. But I think it was the that little jolt that the zombie genre needed to keep going. But they did great. They really it was a lot of fun to watch the interaction between everybody. But this film has obviously it has a lot of Danny Boyle's classic camera angles. like the weird, like kind of like crooked-esque zooming and weird shots from here or there for facial features and everything. But there was like the digital video and the raw, grainy aesthetic. And then you had, the special effects and like the way that he did a lot of the lighting and really making it like a difference with how the story was being told just visually. How do you guys feel like all that affected it overall? Did it help with the unsettling of the happenings in the film? Or Lisa, do you want to start us on that?
Yeah. I actually think it enhanced it a lot more because I've seen some that are like try to do this a similar thing and it doesn't work as well as 28 Days. Just the angles and the graininess and watching those videos and of course the special effects. Yay, more real blood. But the special effects were phenomenal and the lighting when like they were in that one place and you just saw the bodies on the floor and it was darkish, but it was great lighting and it wasn't too dark, but it was musty feeling enough for you you could smell the stink, even though you couldn't smell it. I mean, it was like, you're like, oh, which is very unsettling. So it gave you everything was fantastic. It helped contribute to making this film so good.
Yeah.
The fact that this movie was filmed on an iPhone and it still holds up on a screen on like, on my TV, my HD, 4K, whatever you want to call it, screen. I mean, it says something, right?
Yeah.
I enjoyed his angling because you have to think, if you're getting, some people, when they look up, you have that whole head tilt. And that's me sometimes. When I'm looking, when I turn my head to the side, just looking forward, I want to see that tilt. I want to be able to see all that different angles. It does make you feel, kind of on edge.
It does.
Because of the angling and because of the lighting and how that whole, the lighting makes you feel. Because there are like some areas that, it's really dark and you don't know what's in there and you're like, ooh, don't go in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like the whole tunnel scene. When they're driving through that tunnel, you're like, don't go in there, man. You don't know what's there. Why are y'all going in there? Can you
Cillian kept saying it. He's like, this is the obvious do not. So let's not.
Let's not do it. And he did it anyway.
He just woke up.
Like, please, like I just woke up. No, let's not do this. That church scene, that was beautiful.
It was.
I did not want to be in there. I was like, there are all these people down there. It's kind of stanky. Are they alive? Are they dead? And then he's gonna say hello, and they all like jumped up. I was like,
yeah.
When they
Not
jumped up real quick,
but quite a few.
not all of them. But when they jumped up real quick, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Poor priest. I mean, I don't know why he was, there. I know, like in some instances, like some people want to pretend that they're going to come back from whatever ailment they are, and they want to take care of them and make sure they're okay, and then they get infected, and you're like, well,
I mean, he could have also kind of been like all right, like I'm going to go ahead and take one for the team and like knock all these people, off, and then anybody else who comes, offer them communion, and it be their last.
Yeah.
But like the angling, the shots they did, the graininess. I mean, it makes you feel like you're there.
Yeah.
Even though you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
There's sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be in this situation. Like, let me get out of this situation.
Or it has you feel like you're watching it live, where you're just like, what am I watching right now?
And that whole like scene between him and the captain or the colonel or whatever, and he's like, I promised them women. Huh? Let me disassociate for a second.
Yeah. Which, I'm sorry, why was that even an option in your brain of, I know what I'm going to do in order to make sure I keep some men around. I'm going to tell them we're going to get some ladies. Don't know how we're going to get ladies, but we're going to get some ladies. Like,
yeah, that got me too. Like, how do you, like, even if you get these ladies, are you going to ask them? Because some of them are going to be fighters.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them won't even care if they die right there.
As
taking
you
a couple
could
guys
see,
out.
Selena and Hannah were not willing.
Yeah, exactly.
But they were more than happy to go ahead. Ugh.
Yeah.
We'll leave that topic aside now.
Yes.
We'll come back to it later, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe. I don't know.
I really do love the way that Danny shot this and the special effects that they used. I think they did a great job utilizing what they could with what little time and energy they had, and just made it fantastic. Like, there's so many like iconic visual scenes from this movie. Like, obviously you have the one with Cillian on the bridge, and you can see Parliament in the background and everything. Like, that's iconic. That's an incredibly difficult shot to get, especially with it being completely deserted. But you had all of these shots that pulled your heart when you were watching the film the entire time. And I think that's what makes or breaks a film, especially a horror film. Like, when you can emotionally get invested into it just by the way it's being told, boom, like, you're in it to win it. And Danny did a fantastic job. And even like in those last moments where you could understand why Selena was unsure if Jim had turned or not, which I'm like, dude, just put your hands up and say, I'm clean. I'm not deranged, instead of like coming straight at her. Like, come on. Let's use that gray matter there.
Especially like the rampage that he went on too. You're like,
exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Especially
don't
since
come after me, dude.
Especially since he had not done that at all yet in the film.
Yeah, that caught me questioning too. Like, did he turn and we didn't even fight?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh no, he's turned. Oh no. But he's like smart about it. Wait, what's going on? I need to know what is going on. And so yeah, it was like the way that the lightning made it. It's like, okay, his eyes are blue. He's not turned. Okay, cool. And it was really well done. I mean, 28 Days Later, the whole atmosphere and visuals, like the desolate London streets, created like a lot of isolation and dread. And additionally, it fed the film's central like themes of isolation and societal collapse and like all that kind of stuff. How did all that resonate with y'all? And like, what did you love and what did you hate about it?
I mean, with the whole society collapsing, I could see that happening, really, because you don't have law and order anymore. People tend to get in their minds one of two things. Either I'm going to try to obey the law, or I'm going to go ahead and say, fuck it. To do anything I can do to survive, even if I have to murder somebody.
COVID.
And then, you have like this whole, like I said, the Colonel thing saying, hey, I promised them women.
Excuse me.
Really?
Yeah.
What, sir? Huh?
Yeah.
You should use your brain matter. You can't promise these men that. So this whole, the collapse of society, I can see it happening. I can see it break down into like nothing. And, the fact that, when Jim walked past the whole missing person board, that gets you, because it makes you wonder, like, how quick did everything collapse and turn? Because if you have like a lot of people missing within days or weeks.
Yeah.
And, homeboy, him and his parents, like, I forget his name. Was it Max or Matt or Mark, whatever? He was going with his parents to go out of England, and then it got shut down. You're like, nope, the virus is here. So it's like, for me, I'm like, did it affect only England or did it affect everywhere else? Because if it affect only England, then you know what? England, we're just going to sit there and watch you guys because you can't come out.
Yeah. If you go towards like the other film, 28 weeks later, it was only in England. There had been reports of New York and Paris, but supposedly they got it under control quickly, and like it didn't spread like it did in England.
I mean, I could see that happening because of the fact that, like, oh, they had a disease, the virus coming. No, y'all going to quarantine under that thing, and we're going to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all didn't turn. It's been like 7 days. Y'all had enough food in there. All right, y'all can come on out. I could see, America be like,
but with like how fast people were turning.
Yeah.
Like I
could imagine things going down.
Like I could possibly see Paris only because it's actually not that far.
Yeah.
Like travel wise, it's not that far. New York, I don't think
Yeah.
that doesn't add up for me.
Because it's like a 7 to 8 hour flight. I could see the planes, if
Yeah.
it turned that quickly, planes would be falling out of the sky.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unless a bird brought it over.
Birds weren't bringing it over.
Yeah, birds weren't. Even if they were eating the dead, it's kind of hard to cross species.
True.
Yeah.
Viruses.
True.
The only reason why it broke the animal-human barrier with chimps is because we're closely related to chimps.
Yeah, we're like 4 DNA strands off, something like that.
Yeah.
And those protesters, those animal rights people, pissed me off.
Look, I love animals. It breaks my heart when I have to see an animal go. However, when you have a doctor who is sitting there telling you these animals are infected, they need to stay in the cages, we have to put them down, do not let them out, they will kill you. Listen to the goddamn man.
Yes.
I mean, he's like, yeah, we infected it with a new virus and we're coming up with a cure. So you might not want to do that. Well, I mean, you infected with a new virus. Like, yeah, we made a new virus. Why would you do that? Because we can. Like, when he said that, I'll be like, let's keep these monkeys here. Let's keep these chimps here. Let's just go ahead and go. But then that'll be the end of the movie.
Let's just go ahead, feed him to the chimps, and then we're going to close the doors and bomb the place. Let it just burn.
Now, I would have gave them the doctors, like, let's see what happens. Oh, yeah.
Because, okay, I know there are a lot of people who are like, they really don't like euthanizing animals and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes the most humane thing you can do for an animal is to put it down.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Sometimes that is the only option you have. And that was this situation.
I 100% agree, because I was in rescue for over 10 years. So yes, sometimes you have no choice.
Yeah. It's the best option for them, long-term, short-term, any way you look at it.
Yeah.
But Lisa, what about you? What did you think about the films, the way that they shot the film with all the isolation and everything, and how it talked about its many different themes?
I think it was great because I could see it happening. Really could. I mean, I don't know how fast it happened, but the thing with when Cillian saw the missing people, that was just heart-wrenching, and just stupid sergeant. I'm like,
actually, no, the sergeant was the good one.
Not the sergeant, but you know what I mean.
The CO.
The CO offering. It's like, what is wrong with you? But unfortunately, that would probably be part of the thing. And there have been a couple other movies that have said this. But yeah, I could see it collapsing really fast. Absolutely. And just you feel so isolated and lonely, and you don't know who you can trust anymore, and it's hard. So yeah, it had definitely an effect, because you're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's all, and and I will make a comment about the animal things. If it wasn't for those meddling kids, they probably wouldn't have that problem. But seriously, I had to go there.
Seriously, yeah.
Yes, and don't get me wrong, I am all for. I was in rescue over 10 years, and occasionally it's one of the hardest, best jobs you could have, because you're glad that you can rescue some, but there are some animals you just, like these experimental animals. Some of these people who do this are such extremists, they don't pay attention to, well, this might cause a problem.
Yeah.
That's why they should have listened to the scientist. Even though the scientist was totally doing something wrong, they needed to listen to him. Yeah. And they didn't. And look what happened.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
This is why we can't have nice things, y'all.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think.
But yeah, shout out to that one sergeant or one soldier. I think we're just stuck here. I don't think, it's spread. I think they have us trapped here to see how long this disease can last. And you cannot do this to these people. Let them go. They're innocent.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is like, had they sat there and said, hey, we don't know what the plan is. We're kind of like sitting ducks right now. We've got to like do all this stuff. we need you guys to kind of like help out. And if it gets down to the point of we might be the last humans alive, ladies, we may need to find a way to
Procreate.
repopulate. So pick which gentlemen's you like, and we'll go from there. like,
I mean, yeah, if you gave me that option, I'll
Like,
be
if
like,
it-
okay with it. But if you force
Yeah.
me, I'm going down fighting.
exactly.
Same.
I'll sew things up if I have to.
Oh God.
Lisa just snort.
Yes, I did. The vision. I'm sorry. I'm an artist. Some of the visions I get are like, oh my God.
Hey,
Do what
I'll
you
go
have to
down.
do.
I'll go down. You want to get down there? You got to untie it. You got to figure that
Yeah.
out. No, you can't figure it
Exactly.
out. Tough luck.
Chastity belt.
Yeah, exactly. Lisa, you got your portable blowtorch with you? Yeah, let's make a chastity belt.
I mean, hey, if you don't want to be violated, sometimes you got to go to extremes.
I heard some women they have this kind of thing in Africa where it like makes the men go to the hospital. They put it inside the women to prevent rape.
It's basically it's a tube that kind of has like hooks, and
Yeah.
so as soon as it goes in, when
Yeah.
it comes out, this device is attached to.
Yeah, it's like an anti-rape sheath or
Yeah,
something like that.
Mhm.
something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
God, could you imagine?
I mean, there's reasons why there's horror movies about women whose vaginas have teeth,
Yeah, I know.
That was a good movie.
That was a
Right?
fantastic movie.
right? So now that we've done big full fun loops on this, I do think the way that he shot it and showed the isolation really did, especially as like somebody who's as extroverted as I am, it made me feel icky. It made me go, oh God, like I'm not gonna have anybody. Ooh, I can't handle that. like it was making me go, all right, what are my options again? Because it did make me feel uncomfy, and especially like rewatching this post pandemic for us, even like the isolation a lot of people felt during quarantines. The stir craziness is there, man.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like my seasonal depression was hammering hard during that time, and it was, what was that, March? So I shouldn't have had seasonal depression, but I felt like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like it. So you can only imagine, like, on such a larger scale, what would have happened. But we kind of talked about Jim earlier and his rapid, homeboy, where did that come from? He went from this like person who had no idea what was happening to then being this like badass who just like getting everybody out. And then
I mean, after seeing so much around you and then seeing the people that you come to love and
Mhm.
care about put in danger.
yeah, but he like developed ninja skills.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of getting more at. Like, I get the like being a little bit more aggressive in the fighting realm, but like the ninja skills, that's where I'm like, all of a sudden you're able to like outrun like COs and
Mhm.
like he went from like not being able to like survive anything
Yes, true.
to all of a sudden, yeah, American Ninja Warrior going on. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like
I was
10
just
steps
like,
ahead. That was
yeah,
kind of weird.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you have his whole vulnerable outsider to hardened survivor a very short amount of time. And you have obviously Selena being like this strong, amazing female. The overall tone of this movie, it challenges a lot of the stereotypes. Because usually it's like the guy is like the big strong, like, hey, I got this. And then like the woman's the one who has to like, go from
Damsel in
nothing to
distress.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, has to go from nothing to something. And so they kind of reversed all of that. But like they both also evolved throughout the entire film naturally in ways that made sense. So how do we feel about just the character development with mainly these two, because everybody else, we had interactions with, but not the same kind of like full on experience as we do with these two.
I actually really enjoyed their character development because of the fact that you had this person who woke up, doesn't know what's going on, has to come grips with reality, stays with these two survivors, sees what actually is going on, and then has to watch this strong woman kill one of their survivors because he could have gotten infected, don't know, but wasn't willing to risk it. And then you go to two more survivors who's a mother and not a mother, but a father and daughter. And you're kind of like become a family unit almost.
Yeah.
Very quickly because you were isolated. He was in this hospital. Parents are now dead because he discovered their bodies. And now he's holding on to a family unit that he wants to protect. That one scene that got me, I'm like, why didn't this grocery store get raided?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that myself.
Well, it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere, right?
Sort of. Yeah.
Sort of, not really. They were heading out of the city.
I thought they were already out of the city. I thought they had already done the...
No, it was right before the tunnel.
Before the tunnel? Okay.
Yeah.
My brain is like all over the place. Sorry, y'all.
But you have this like unit. They can become like a family unit because now they're going on the road, protecting each other, and then he sees the father figure die. Yeah. That's another father figure that's out of his life, and now he has to deal with these military men who are doing nefarious things to his little sister, quote unquote, and to the woman that he's actually become attached to. Yeah, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm not sure if I'm gonna become ninja, but I'm gonna be pissed. And then you have the strong woman who has to take care of this vulnerable man who just woke up, don't know what's going on.
This man child. Well, rightfully so, being a man child, because he just woke up.
She has to take it upon herself to like lead, but sometimes probably leave him behind because he's also a man child who's holding her back. And then she has to slowly break down her walls just to trust again, just to feel something, because I don't know if this man's going to die or not. I don't know this little girl or this older man's going to die or not. And then she finally does, and then to see the father figure die, because I forget his name, even though I watched it, I forgot his name. Frank. See him die.
I think it's Frank.
That kind of hits home because I've been on the road with these people, surviving, and then he gets shot right in front of me. That does something to you. And then not only that, you're being told, "Oh, I promised them women. Now you're going to force me and this child. She's literally a child, Hannah, to entertain these men. Yeah, I'm going to have to protect her." And she rightfully so. She gave her medication to not feel.
Well, not feel, not care.
Not care. Well, not care. Basically the same thing, not feeling. You're not caring about anything. So you have to protect her and yourself in this situation. And at the same time, you're wondering, did they really kill the guy I'm actually kind of having some feelings for? So she's now vulnerable. She's kind of like, she went from something to a little bit of nothing to try to like take care of this girl in this whole situation.
Yeah.
And then here comes Jim, and now she's like, whoa, did you turn? Hannah said, "I thought he was eating your face."
Yeah. Which that was adorable.
Valid. That was valid. It's like, no, I was just kissing her.
He was eating her face.
I mean, technically.
Technically.
And now they're surviving together as a family unit of 3.
Yeah.
So Jim went from nothing to something. Selena went from something to a little bit of nothing back to something. And Hannah had to learn this whole situation.
She became a fellow badass lady.
She did become a fellow. I mean, she was aware enough to hide behind a mirror. I don't even have that grip strength. Okay, that child had some grip strength. She was like holding on to the mirror. I'm like, I don't have that. I would have fallen. I would have gotten 8. You know that? But that girl had that grip strength, and she went from being just a child to a survivor now.
Yep.
So even though we're talking about Jim and Selena, you have to throw that little girl in there because she did become a survivor.
She did.
Yeah, she was so adorable.
She just didn't have as much screen time.
Yeah, she did.
And even though she did become a fellow badass lady, you didn't really get to see the full transition.
That's true. But it was so adorable. I thought he was eating your face. I was like, oh, child.
And he's like, are you high?
Not the way you were thinking.
He's like, wait, is she high? And we're like,
like, is she high? Like,
well,
yeah.
I mean, you would be too if you had to do what we had to do, you know?
Yeah. The fact that she could drive her dad's car, his Lord, whatever you called it.
Oh, that was
that was amazing.
Hilarious. That was hilarious.
like,
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Especially how like she started going and homeboy was like, no, what are you doing? And it's like, wouldn't you want her to like drive away? Why were you wanting her to? I had questions. that scene kind of confused me a little bit.
But yeah.
Lisa, what about you? What did you think about?
I really loved the character development for both of them. How, like Karen said, he started nothing, being aware, a little too ninja skilly thing, but he did develop bravery and protection when he started. This was like a family to him since he had lost his parents, and it was really, really cool. And I liked how Selena, she's the strong girl woman and everything, and then she broke a little bit, but then she came back. And the daughter, I just love the daughter, even though she wasn't in there as much. When she's driving the car, almost hits the gas tanker. It's like, oh my God. But I mean, and then just the way they're just a unit together, surviving, it's just, that was kind of nice, and happiness, all that, just to watch them develop. And it wasn't like, the typical, it was a natural, it felt natural the way they developed. And that's what made it more realistic and more appreciative for me.
Yeah.
Except for the whole ninja scene.
Yeah. The ninja skills. That.
Yeah.
I got questions. Mr. Boyle, if you would like to discuss these questions, I am open to conversation. But for the most part, I think the characters' mindsets and the way that they evolved over their course of time together was so like true, and like what would happen. Of course you're going to suddenly develop feelings for this person who is kind of your last link. This individual who's of a similar age as you, experienced the world similarly esque. I mean, obviously everybody has their own like personal journeys, but they can understand and comprehend your life before all of this. And you're spending all this time together trying to survive. So like, yeah, of course you're going to like develop something. The fact that like all they did was kiss, show that like they weren't going to go past that until they were ready for it, but they were at least open to the suggestion of it. Yeah.
And the fact is like, oh, I like that red dress.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, you look good in this. I liked it. She's just like,
they needed it.
He's like, no.
We need it.
No.
The fact he woke up was like, oh, she's at it again.
Yeah, but I like that he did start to develop the change, but I like how he gave her hope.
Yeah.
And not necessarily hope in like rainbows, butterflies, and everything's going to go back to normal, but hope as in you can still find happiness. We can still find something down the road. And I liked that she was his reality. I liked how she did ground him. And, she laid it out from the beginning, like, hey, it's a dog-eat-dog world. So if you don't buck up, peace out, Cub Scout. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
like
she did that when they're running up the stairs.
Yeah. She's like, I can't carry you. So
yeah.
I'm not going to carry you. You're going to have to carry yourself.
Yeah. And I enjoyed that even when she was the damsel in distress with like the military guys, she wasn't a real damsel in distress. She was still a woman who was willing to fight tooth and nail and by any means necessary in order to survive. And mad respect. Mad respect. We kind of already talked about how horrible like the human survivors are. Obviously, the movie does talk about, it has two different threats. You have the infected, obviously, and then you have these horrible human beings who are trying to survive. Do you guys think this film suggests that the people are ultimately more dangerous than the virus itself?
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
People are selfish. People are greedy. People are prideful.
Mm-hmm.
Humans are just terrible. They're terrible for everything. The environment. I think that's the reason why, like, the planet Earth creates diseases just to try to wipe us out.
I mean, Earth knows how to regulate.
So, yes, humans are horrible. I mean, you probably find, like, a couple of decent ones. Like, Frank and Hannah, who will welcome you with open arms, but you need to be cautious, Frank and Hannah, because they could have been, like, raiders.
Mm-hmm.
But still,
yeah,
it boils down to, like, as a whole, humanity is terrible.
Yeah.
Individually wise, it comes. It's a case in case,
mm-hmm.
case by case.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Lisa?
Yeah, I would say the humans were way more dangerous because they still had the ability to think than the raging virus-induced thing, because they were they had one thing on their mind and that's what they did. Whereas the regular surviving humans were plotting and just taking each other out and wanting to do horrible things to women, and just, it was like a all for themselves debauchery, diabolical scheme that no one could trust anybody, because they just didn't care except for selfish pride and whatever they could get, type of thing. So yeah, I think the surviving humans were way more dangerous than the ragers.
Yeah, I mean, I think this film did a great job showing the dichotomy of human survivors. You had the good, wholesome, hey, let's work together, let's become a team and make this work. And then you had we're going to take advantage of every little thing that we can. And what's sad is that will always be a thing. There are going to be the people who are like, let's find a way to make this work and let's work together and let's do the right thing. And then you do have the people who are like, well, I see an opportunity for myself to do things that are not quite kosher, and I can get away with it. And so, I think at the end of the day, we will always end up being our own downfall if we don't remember what's really matters at the end, which you could see in this film was holding trust in one another and was, working hard together to make things work, which kind of leads us to this question, which is that this film had multiple endings, 2 that were filmed and then 2 that were not. Lisa, do you want to tell us the 2 that were not filmed?
Yes. Okay, the 2 that were not filmed was one where Jim, he woke up in the hospital, went through all this stuff and everything, and then all of a sudden he, all the ragers and all this, and then all of a sudden he just wakes up and it was all a dream. And that would have sucked, to tell you the truth, after all that, everything that happened. And then the other one was basically they found this medical building where they had the cure and all these animals and everything. And there's this one guy who was locked in this section with the cure and all this food and books. And Jim was trying to talk him to be his friends, but he said, no, if I let you in, you're going to, kill me and take my shit. And eventually they talked him into giving the cure, which was supposed to be a full-on blood transfusion, which of course would not work medically because you would die if you took everyone's blood out of their body before you transferred the other one. And then it left Jim on the platform where the gorilla was, watching the violent films and everything like that, which is interesting concept, but it was a little too much. That's what the writer said. It was a little too much. It added too many things, that. So those
like
are
that would have
2.
added like another half hour to the film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like the idea where the statement of man being violent, blah, 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 and him being on there tied down to the table. But that'd be better for another film instead of this one. I don't know.
Yeah. obviously we have like the theatrical trailer or theatrical ending that everybody has seen, where after being shot, Jim is fixed and revived, and another 28 days later, they're in some cute little cottage in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, stitching together a "Hello, we're alive" sign in fabric, and a military jet flies above and sees them, and we assume, get rescued. It kind of gives you like a good happy ending. The other ending that they had filmed showed a lot of like what you saw in the movie, where they get him to a hospital and they're working on Jim, trying to save him. But in the second one that they had filmed, he did not make it. He ended up dying before they could save him, which is extremely depressing. Very depressed, or yeah, depresso. With all these different endings, do you think it was the right choice? Do you guys think any of these other ones would have been a little bit more effective?
No,
because
they're depressing. Like with all this depressiveness that's coming on, I want something happy. I don't want to be depressed. I'm like, damn, Maddie's screwed. Now I'm depressed. Shit. Because either way, in like 3 of the movies, Jim dies. 3 of the ending, Jim dies, or Jim gets hurt or something.
Well, the one he was dreaming it all.
Well, still, okay. That's a cop out for any ending.
Yeah.
That's a cop out.
It is a cop out ending.
Agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other 2, he gets like, one of them he gets tortured, quote unquote, because he's watching, violent films and movies and whatnots. And then the other one, he gets killed. No, I want something happy. I want to see there's hope for humanity. Okay. I want to see like England being sort of kind of rescued from this virus that they created.
So England,
even though they shouldn't have created
rescued from himself. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Lisa?
Yeah. I prefer the theatrical ending, even though it is still, you don't know if they actually get rescued or not. They may, they may not. But it's a lot better than him getting killed or tortured or waking up from a dream. So I definitely like the first ending.
Yeah.
I mean, it may leave you with questions, but it's still better than the other 3.
Yeah. I think the ending that they ended up going with was the perfect ending, specifically because that was Jim's story. The whole movie was that there was hope. And so to end it with hope was perfect, is exactly what it should have been. But it's time for us to kind of wrap things up. So let's give our final thoughts, our full what we loved about the movie, what we hated about the movie, and our skull rating for our new little ghouls and horrorholics. We do 1 through 5 skulls. 1 because they at least tried, and 5 because it was that awesome. So, ladies, what are your final thoughts? Lisa?
I love this film, and like I said, I'm not a big zombie film fan, though it's kind of hard to say that this is zombies. But still, the point is I loved it. I loved the photos. I loved the graininess. I loved everything about it. The acting was great. Not thrilled about it filmed on an iPhone, since I'm a photographer myself and use cameras, but it was still very good. But I will give it a 5 because I think everybody should actually watch this movie.
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
Yeah. Karen, how about you?
I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the cinematography. I enjoyed the acting, the character building. However, I had some questions about certain things. Okay. That's going to give me I'm going to leave it a 4.75 because I still have some questions. Okay. So, Jim becoming a ninja.
Yeah.
How? Number 2, that whole grocery store that was fully stocked, not raided, and nothing rotted.
Yeah, that's true.
Questions.
Okay. I love this film. I think it is so much fun to watch. I think it is, storytelling wise, it's fantastic. There's a reason why there is a 28 weeks later and why there is the upcoming 28 years later. It's just really good. It's fantastic, and it's a story that pulls you. You cheer for Jim and Selena and Hannah throughout the entire film. And, there's nothing about it that I hate, to be honest. Like, even the stuff where I'm like, hey, I got questions. I don't necessarily hate it. Like, Jim having ninja skills. Don't hate it. I still have questions. How did he get that? Like, are there some deleted scenes that I have not seen that kind of shows that, like, he did karate before his accident? Like, I got questions. But it doesn't take away from the film. It doesn't take away from my enjoyment. So this is one I think I would give a 5 especially since it used to be a comfort film for me. It might pop back up into that rotation. But our lovely little ghouls, do you guys think you would survive in the 28 universe with this rage virus? Do you guys think you would survive? I know that I would not. I would not. I know this.
I would not.
I mean, if I didn't have to go out for supplies, yeah, probably not.
Yeah. One, couldn't do the isolation. And then 2, that's a lot of running.
Yeah.
I'm good. I know it's first world problems. I get it. That's a privileged statement right there. I get it. However, I'm being honest. I would not. But June 20th, 2025 is going to be the release of 28 years later. Let us know in the comments if you guys want us to see it and review it. We'd like to know. But you can come find us on all of our social media. We are on Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, Blue Sky. Our Facebook group is always a hoppin' and a boppin'. If you're not in there, what is wrong with you? Because it is so much fun. And you can also subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts, such as Apple, Google, Spotify, and of course, YouTube. Leave some comments. We do answer those bad boys. But ladies, where can they find you? Lisa?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and that's where you can find me.
Rock on, rock on. Karen, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit.
Rock on, rock on. I am Shannon. You can find me on all the things at Spilled Tea Wine Media Mind. And as always, before we go, thank you so much. We cannot express how much we appreciate all of your guys' love and support. Literally, every subscription, every like, every share means the world to us. So thank you so much. And stay spooky, our lovely little ghouls. And this has been the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.